Hello.
Hey, Stoyan.
Hello, hello.
So I have a question to you. Let me share my screen here. Um, so we talked about it maybe 2 meetings ago or something like that. We currently have the problem that until we have not, the more basic charter with making everything more easy regarding voting. From the data I have access to, it looks like both you and George have not attended any of the previous meetings because I assume you have logged in as guest and not with your account. So my problem now is I cannot verify what meetings you have attended and what meetings you have not attended.
Yeah, okay, so I missed the last two,
Yeah.
but the ones before that I was here.
So on the 15th you have been here.
Yeah, and on the 8th as well.
Excuse me, and
On the 8th as well.
on the 8th as well. Okay, yeah, I was knowing that there was one meeting we talked about it. I assume it was the 8th, and then you were at the 15th too.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea about George?
No,
Okay.
no, he was on vacation for some time, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
which days.
Okay. Oh, and Brandon, for you, I now updated this again agenda for today with an update on what I was able to find. I have not updated the pull request from you so far, but this is now everything Jessica and I were able to figure out regarding attendance of TSC members.
Yeah,
Or,
the PCC
sorry, go ahead,
tool.
Jessica.
Oh, hey. Sorry. The PCC tool. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, sorry. The PCC tool is kind of wonky when it registers when somebody joins without the email or without the identity that they're registering the meeting. So if you guys wanna message me your current identity, your current email address, I can update the registration in PCC so that it's able to register who attended and who didn't.
Perfect. Yeah, and then from going forward, Hendrik, so do you need me to do anything in regards to this table or when we're doing the meeting summaries or okay, perfect. Yeah, sounds good.
No, it's really just there was one table, like the last one has several question
Mhm.
marks in it because we were not able to figure it out. And I can
Gotcha.
I can do a pull request to remove those question marks. Jessica and I did it for this one, for the most up-to-date one, but not for the previous one so far because it
Gotcha.
will take some time.
No worries. Yeah, if I
But
can support
anyway,
it all, let me know.
we can have a look at that when we come to the previous approval of the previous minutes. So before going into detail here, I see like nearly 20 people already in the meeting. So let me start. And so welcome to the TSC meeting of the Hiero project. Um, I assume most people that are currently attending here have been in the meeting, but if not, or if you watching the recording of this meeting, our TSC meetings, like any other meeting we do under the Hiero project, are open meetings. And that means that everybody is invited to join those meetings, join our discussions, and so on. since we're growing and growing, as said, we're kind of 20 people right now in this meeting, and I assume more will join while the meeting happens. Please take care about how you speak to others. We use the code of conduct of the Linux Foundation. So please be welcome to anybody else behave under that code of conduct, and then you're more than welcome to join our discussions and bring your topics into our meetings like the TSC or any other community meetings that you can find in our public calendar that is linked on our main page and in the minutes. And with that, let me move to the agenda of the meeting for today. So as every time, and we already talked about that before the meeting started, let's have a look at the approve of the previous minutes, which in general looks quite good. There is the one, which is this one, where I need to update, as said, the attendance of the TSC members. And Brandon, this one is a draft. I assume that's an accident, but it's approved and everything, but I don't want it to merge a draft. So if it's done from
Oh,
your
wow.
side, just change it and merge it. And then we only have this one meeting that we are missing.
Great. Okay. Yeah, that was a draft just because I wasn't sure about that table, but if it's all good, I'll switch it out and we'll
Do it.
rock and
Do
roll.
it, and I will do it afterward. That's fine.
No problem.
Perfect. Thank you. So, what do we have on the agenda for today? One thing I sadly missed to add, since we had in the last meeting an overview of two HIPs where Richard gave an introduction to those, we would like, if everybody is fine with it, vote on those HIPs. So this is currently under any other business because I realized it 10 minutes before the meeting and don't want to change the agenda 10 minutes ago. The other things that we have on the agenda for today is the update of the charter that will remove this horrible table above the agenda. A new project proposal, which is the Hiero CLI. And yeah, I see Michael is here. So the person who would like to give an overview on that project is in the meeting. That is great. And it's unbelievable, but Hiero is around the corner since nearly a year now, which means we should talk about periodic elections of TSC members, because all the people who are part of the TSC are not voted in for lifetime, and we have periodic elections happening, and I think that is a good topic for today, since we do not have that many topics on the list to discuss about that and discuss how we would like to handle that. If anybody has some other business, please put it into the chat, or at the end, if we are not running out of time, I will definitely come back to any other business and ask about it. So if you have any topics, as said at the beginning, all is welcome. And if it don't fit in today, just ping me and I will put it on the agenda for the next week. So our first topic is the update of the charter. Here we have one big update, which is about the definition of an active member and the definition about who is allowed to vote in a meeting, which is more or less this sentence that is removed from the charter, up with, we don't have an active voting members anymore. With that, it's then only code members. So some other minimal changes on that. That is where we not voted on the exactly wording of it, how it is here, but voted on that we all agree that we want to have that. And what I and others would like to do is, since we need to change the charter with that move forward, we have the chance in that moment to, if we see some other small pieces we would like to change in the charter, put that right in now, and then have an updated charter with this one as a big topic, and maybe one or two smaller things where the wording is not 100% perfect, or where an update is needed. And to do so, what I did, I created an issue. I'm happy to share it here. And I already looked through the complete charter, and I personally found two topics that, from my point of view, would make sense to discuss if we want to change it. One topic is that the TSC _members.md file is mentioned in the charter as that is the truth about the TSC members, and we do it in a different way. So how we do it, we have a GitHub team that is the truth about the TSC members. So I assume that would be a change. Give me a second, Milan. I will give a short introduction to my second one, and then I will hear you. And the other one is that it has a section about the TSC chair, that it should be nominated and voted on. And from my point of view, we should have, I don't know what the right name is since I'm not a native speaker, deputy chair maybe, and should add that to the charter too. So those are the two findings I had. Milan.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hendrik. So yeah, I think one of the things that we probably going to add / change is the discussion that we're going to have later about the members, because that's defined in the cohort A and cohort B. Also, and I think there's probably been, I mean, I have a slight memory. My memory is not that good, but I have a slight memory that this was maybe mentioned before, but we have the technical charter at two places. So one is TSC, the other one is governance. So that was just when I wanted to kind of dive into it, and it's like, hey, why is it on TSC? I thought it was at governance. I don't know if it was discussed before, but I think that would make sense to decide on one place to have the technical charter, or I don't know, maybe best practice is to have it everywhere, but I have no clue. So yeah, that's just my two comments.
Yeah. Richard, you made, oh, that's Jessica.
Sorry, I don't remember if you mentioned that we have the charter document in both the governance and the Hiero repo. We need to remove the Hiero one.
That is, we want to remove the Hiero one, exactly. So that is grown historically, you know? So I put it into the Hiero repo, and then sometimes later, Ralph from LF realized that it's in the wrong place, put a new one into the government's org. The old one has never been removed. And as far as I know it must be in the government's repo. And when we change something, we even want to have an history. So what we are doing, when we change the charter, we will create a folder, I don't know, like charter history, and put in the old one with a given date into it, which makes it maybe easier to do a diff between charters to see it.
I see. I posted a pull request.
That is how I understood it, at least. Yeah.
I posted a pull request there which has the original charter changes that remember that since the formatting is kind of off, you have to view it, the diff in a rich mode. But this is basically what legal approved when we were asking them. Just click on rich mode.
Yeah, I wanted to show. So when Jessica and I did this, we saw it and it was like, okay, how should we the differences? And I'm so happy Roger saved us, because Roger had the idea, hey, click on this rich mode, and if you click on that, then you can see the differences in the charter. And that should be the pull request that we want to use at the end to correct everything in, and then have the TSC voted on it to move the charter forward.
So just sorry, just on that. I mean, this one was approved by the changes have been approved by Linux Decentralized Trust. Now, does that mean like we are editing this file or
We're editing this file and they will approve it again. We learned
approve it again? Okay, so they just go through it again.
the approval was not that hard. So we
Okay.
were afraid that, oh yeah, that will take a long time, but it was, quite fast. And we hope if we now do some minor other changes, it will be again quite hard, and then we can do it in one batch.
Good.
Yeah, and the way the legal team reviewed it, it wasn't by looking at the PR. They have a document with the official. They have a shared document in a drive with the official charter, and basically we had to make the changes there for as suggestions to the document, and that's the way that they were able to review it. So then I have to reflect those back in the PR. So I wish they would review the PR, but I don't know. That's the process that David told me that they do it.
Yeah. Any thoughts on that? So, because if not, I think what we should do is define a period that we are, say, hey, people should have a look at it, check if they find something. The questions will be 1 week, good enough for that. And I'm excluding what we talk later about the periodic voting. It's more about other minimalistic changes. Would we say like we have 1 week and correct this week if people find anything that could be changed, and then on the next TSC maybe we vote that, maybe not the exact wording, but we vote on that we want to have those changes in general. And at the end, we need to find some people, a working group that is willing to, like Richard did it for the voting topic, that is willing to update those things in the charter so that we at the end can vote on the correct wording of the charter in this pull request. Does that make sense to all?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
But if you're asking, we're asking a question: is 1 week enough to review this, or so?
I don't know.
At the end of the week, what's asked? I mean, are we approving the changes? Are we looking to have somebody within a week to be the owner of this PR?
So my wish would be this and this as an example. We approve it on that high level. We say, yeah, that makes sense. No, this don't make sense at all. And then we have a list of, we want to have those changes. Some people need to come together, do the changes, and then we can approve the rewording. Richard.
Yeah, I can see the desire to get whatever changes we want into the TSC. So one round with LF legal and so forth. But it could also make it difficult in that if there's lots of changes going in to just get it done. I just reviewed the PR that I had and the PR that Jessica had that was reviewed, and it's identical. So like and we've had this available for us to look at. I would be prepared to vote. I don't know if others are, and we could get get this one change, and then if we want to make additional changes, then we could look at those as well. Like I say, I could see the reason to wanting to bundle all the changes together so that we go through the process once. But on the other hand, I don't want this to languish.
Yeah.
And when I look at the two examples here, it's like, well, we could create a TSC members MD file, or we could change that line. And the second one, I don't think it's really necessary to add any definition of a vice chair because it says it already has in there, or any other TSC members. Don't we already have wiggle room in there? Yeah, I think that, or any other TSC member so designated, I think leaves us room to be able to add roles. But anyway, I don't know. We could make these changes now. I just don't want this to languish. I mean, we've had this change sitting in front of the TSC now for what, like 3-4 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, understand it. And I agree on it. So for me, to make it sure, right, both of those things are super minimalistic, right? I was like, okay, let's read the whole charter again and check if I see anything, and that was the outcome for me. And I'm totally fine with say, let's do it now so that we have this voting done as soon as possible, and do for everything else then over maybe the next 2 months or whatever, another update with minimalistic changes if we want to. Maybe the question is, what do the other people from the TSC think about it?
I agree. Let's do it now.
Okay, I'm fine with that too. Migan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I went through it, and for me, it was only the real thing that stood out was the cohorts and the voting. So, you know, and obviously that's going to be a separate thing. So, yeah, I'm fine with it to get through.
Brandon?
Likewise, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Michael and Alex are here too. Do you have any concerns?
I don't have any concerns, just a clarification around even it's like the first one where it says set forth in the markdown file within the project's code repository. Which we don't have a code repository per se, right? For the TSC. We have a repo, but it's decisions, pull requests, and things like that. So just clarifying that that the TSC members is going to go into the TSC repo.
Yeah, but that is, so I would see that for the future anyway. So this one stays open. We don't close this issue. That is about correcting things that may be changed in the charter, and we now concentrate on. We go back
Okay,
here,
yeah.
Rich
That's
mode
fair.
to this one and only think about this one. And it looks like nobody has any complaints with that. Oh, Stoyan, do you have any? Sorry, do you have any complaints?
No, it's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah. So, Migan, how do you? Let's vote. Let's vote to approve this PR. Migan votes yes. Brandon,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Riemann,
Yes.
Michael, Alex.
Yes.
Michael, you are muted. Okay, Michael does thumbs up. So, Stoyan, technically, you're not active, but I ask you again anyway. Are you fine with it?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. So, which means I need some more approvals here, and oh, we have. So I will merge it live. Boom. Perfect. So starting next week, we all can vote independent of.
And we
this.
can finally put in place our electronic voting procedure. We can look at that now.
Yeah.
Get that put in place. That was the main driver for me.
Great. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Richard, for saying let's move it forward. I was not assuming that it's that easy, but very good. So yeah, as said, if somebody has updates to the charter, let's try to correct it in this issue 199. And with that, if there are any other questions on that topic or comments, I would like to move forward. So any comments or questions? Perfect. Good. So the next topic is the project proposal of the currently named Hedera CLI will then be named Hiero CLI, and we have Michael here who would like to give an introduction to that project.
Alrighty.
Hey,
Can I share my screen or?
absolutely. Give me a second. Now
I'll
you
do. Yes. This one. I'll do like a speed walkthrough again, like I did last time for the other call. Can you see my screen full screen now?
Yes.
Yes. Alrighty. So I presented this tool already in the past for our technical community call. That's where the slides actually come from. It's a CLI tool that helps you like automate a lot of the actions on the network. So if you look at some of the key selling points or the benefits, it's like it helps you to simplify your environment management. You can spin up like a lot of commands with that like prepare accounts, they create smart contracts, you can call smart contracts, you can create tokens, so you can spin up your entire test environment and then hand it over to your CI/CD pipeline. Then you can like run your test each time on like a fresh environment of like accounts and tokens and contracts. It supports like consensus service, token service, smart contract service. The smart contract service is supported through like Hardhat at the moment only. So you can write any kind of Hardhat script and use it within the tool as well. And you can also share state between them. If we go to the use case or like the personas for the CLI tool, we're mainly looking at like people that want to automate like repetitive tasks. A lot of people, you might also have it like have a lot of scripts, either running scripts, copying IDs, token IDs between these scripts. It's sometimes annoying. So that's one of the pain points I'm trying to solve. And then the other pain point is having to set up like these environments to run your tests. That's one of the major selling points as well. So there are projects. And we also want to use it actually for our getting started documentation. So instead of having code snippets, we are exploring if we can also add like CLI commands to make it even easier for like new people coming to Web3 to explore our technology. So let me quickly walk you through some of the key features. So the first one is account and token management. So you can easily create new accounts. You can specify a dash name property, which is actually a name you give to the account you create, and you can use it to internally reference the name and other commands. So if you see the token command, you can see that I specify the admin key to be Alice and the treasury key to be Bob. So it's a very easy system. Instead of having to copy private keys or like account IDs, you can just reference using these names. Makes it a lot easier to build up these commands and to know what's being done under the hood. It also supports like the consensus service, like creating topics, submitting messages, finding messages. And one of the key features is like deploying contracts to Hardhat. So you actually just write a Hardhat script, which retrieves like a signer. You get a contract factory, you deploy the contract. You can actually run it with the npx command. It's actually baked into the CLI, but you still use the npx command to use Hardhat because of some technical limitations. And you can actually, the last line of this snippet, you can actually store outputs within the CLI. So here we say save script argument, and we store the deployed address for our ERC71 token within the state, so we can actually use it in other commands. So one of the most valuable features of the CLI tool is these script blocks. So you can store for a lot of the commands, you can store outputs and give them a name and then reference them in other commands. So you can actually start building a chain of different commands that do like full environment setup automatically. So for example, for account create, we can store like the name of the account ID can be stored as a property, private key, etc. So if we look at an example, so in this example, we're actually creating a token, but first we say, I want to use a testnet. Then we create 3 accounts. We give it all an alias. The first one is Alice, then Bob, and then Greg. And for each of these accounts, we actually store a private key. And we store the private key in a variable called priv key account1, and further, we also store the name and the account ID. And then we actually create a new token. We give it the name my token, the symbol, the number of decimals, initial supply is 1000. And then we can start referencing using like the double bracket notation or interpolation. We say the admin key, we assign it to priv key account1. So that's the account, the private key for the account one that we created, which is Alice. So Alice becomes our admin key and the treasury key goes to Bob. Then we create this token. And the next step is to call the token associate command. We want to associate Greg, our account tree, with our newly created token, which we also start as an argument. So we can reference token ID, no manual copying of IDs. And now we can do a token transfer from this token ID from our treasury account, which is Bob, to Greg. We wait a couple of seconds, and then once the transaction has been confirmed, we verify if the balance is also recorded, and we also use the state.view command to actually internally check if this token ID is present within our CLI state. So this really sums up like the value of the CLI tool, where you can build like a big chain of commands, which allows you to automate more complex interactions. And then if you look further, I think, oh, I had all of this here. No. So this chaining of commands also works with like script deployments. So as I showed here, you can also include like these npx hardhat commands where you deploy scripts. You store like, you call the save script argument, and these ERC721 address variables can also be used and referenced within these script blocks. So you get like full automation across all our 3 different services, basically. Like token creation, token management, account management, and also smart contracts. And this is the proposal that I want to push forward. We are planning to get a dev shop on board to professionalize the CLI tool, bring more features, bring it more up to date with all the commands that the network now, or all the features that the network supports. And that's why I also want to bring it to Hiero, so we can start some marketing efforts for this slowly. So that's the proposal in a gist.
Thank you. Are there any questions on that proposal?
I was just gonna say this. I missed that that segment of that call. This is really, really cool. Thanks for sharing this. I'm gonna be playing around with this.
Cool. Thank you. All right.
I have 2 questions. So one question is regarding the configuration of networks regarding other address books. I mean, it's totally sure it's coming from the Hedera system. It called Hedera CLI. Under Hedera, you want to have most easiest way to connect to testnet, to connect to mainnet with like whatever connect network testnet, or how you have stated it there. So let's assume there is another Hiero-based network. Is connection to those networks already in it, or is it planned?
So it's a config file where you define the different types of networks, but it's not fully dynamic. It would need a small change to make it fully dynamic. Now it just searches for like mainnet, previewnet, testnet, and also local node. But in the end, it's just a config that you provide, so we could support any other network.
Cool. So it is already like
yeah, it's not fully dynamic because
yeah.
it only looks for the 4 types of network, not every network.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. And my second question was, you had it on the slide with the example where you had like, oh, let's wait 3 seconds, I assume. Is that because the next one goes against mirror node, or?
Yeah, that's because you use mirror node.
Yeah. Okay. Understood.
I can show you quickly this. So to show you why it's not fully dynamic, because it's like in our config. And we just specified these ones hard coded basically. So it's not dynamic, but you could add more to the config. And we could like create like a networks object where we like dynamically just scrape all the networks from it. Now it's just more fixed because there was no need for it. So small change. Yeah.
And regarding naming like testnet and mainnet, so how heavily is it already used, or would it be possible to change those names like to Hedera-mainnet, Hedera-testnet as an example, to make it when the Hiero more clear what it is?
It's only used in the network command, the switching command. So where you say network use and then the network name. So if you want to change that, we can just change like again like one parameter to make it more generic. And in the end, the CLI tool is not used by a lot of people. I think we had a couple of people trying it out after the technical community call. So if we change a lot of, because we didn't do any marketing efforts for this. And that's also the reason why we want to bring it to Hiero, so we can kickstart like more marketing while we onboard like a dev shop.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Regarding the weight, just for you, because I had the same, and in CI that failed from time to time for me when, you know, the network was too slow. You can get from mirror node info about a transaction, and what I did is just check if the info of the last transaction is there and wait until that, and wrap that in a functionality to have something like wait until last transaction is executed.
Yeah, that could also work. Now it's like guessing work.
Yeah.
You specify the amount of time, 3 seconds is usually enough.
Richard,
Do we have like a checklist that projects go through before we get to the voting step, or do we do that after? Things like number of contributors and who the maintainers are and all that kind of stuff.
we do not have so far a fixed checklist, and I personally believe as long as we not have defined, like we have graduated and maybe incubation projects or something like that, it's hard to do, because maybe we got a project where we say, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense to Hiero, but it only has like 2 committers. So we want to get that into like something incubated state where maybe this project is a good fit too. I would see those should be handled differently than consensus node as an example, which has a lot of committers and which is definitely graduated. So the questions, doesn't make sense to have those hard rules now, or should we concentrate first on this? That we say we want to have, as an example, graduated projects under Hiero and incubation projects under Hiero.
No, I think it's okay to have both under Hiero. I was just wondering if we like what our process is.
So far the process was, after we voted, Jessica and I looked at things like the licenses, worked with the technical people together to do all those checks, like Michael now. I assume that is what Michael posted here. This license check that he created for the Hashgraph online repositories and so on. So we did that afterwards, after the voting. Do you think we should do it up front? Or let's say it differently, what do you want to know up front?
Richard, is that to you?
Yeah, I'm not all sure. I guess that's why I was asking the question. Like, process and checklist. Have we thought through it? Just so that we can streamline it. The second part, so that we don't like approve and then.
I know maybe some.
Yeah.
But as you're pointing it out, I think made me think about things such as like I said, number of contributors, number of downloads, et cetera, to show how active the project is. Perhaps are those reasonable?
Diane.
Yeah, those are all reasonable, Alex. And there's a very low bar set, like if we use the CNCF sandbox process, which is basically a form to fill in with links to basic questions like the ones you just posed. We could put something in place like that, or we could templatize the submission process for a new project so that there was a form that basically in GitHub that they filled out as they submitted these requests. So had a template for that. You've got some already in there, but there's, the state of the project could be a little bit clearer.
Yeah, that's the point, right? I assume
Yeah.
we have already things because this is how each and every proposal we had so far comes in. But yeah, maybe we need to make like the state of the project more, like split it into some subparts.
A little bit more. For this one, for example, and I'm really not picking on it because I actually like it. I would have liked to have known how long it's been around, how many people are using it already, if there were any, background stuff, and maybe the code base. I didn't look at the code base beforehand, but a little bit more about the architecture of it. But this, I think what Richard is driving at is a little bit of the maturity of this project, like how long it's been around. Is it an experimental thing? And that's where maybe the sandbox idea that the CNCF has is this lightweight area that is pre-acceptance into a project. So, and that's based on the state of the project. So if this project has been in use by the DevRel team at Hashgraph for ages or even months, has a number of people using it, that would make me personally feel more happy about pulling it into the Hiero repo. But I think it's fleshing out this template that people are submitting with could be the quick answer to Richard's questions here, so that you had a little bit more information. And I'm happy to work with you on doing that.
Thank you, Diane. Richard, would that make sense to you? Because I think it's a good idea
Yeah,
to.
I think that's kind of the idea, is that like when we vote on a HIP, originally we just sort of brought it up, I would describe it, and then we would vote. But I didn't feel comfortable with that because nobody on the TSC actually had a chance to think about it, raise, significant concerns. They were just presented with this thing and then said, okay, let's vote. And I feel like the same is true for our projects, that just overall we have a tendency to, we present and then we vote. And I think what we need is probably more of a practice of either we're informed ahead of time so that when we come, we know, the details and we're ready to vote, or we do presentation. Probably better is we do presentation, have that week to consider and then do the vote separately. I don't know what the TAC does on LF, but I would be surprised if a project comes to the LFDT TAC and they vote on it the first time they heard about it. I'm pretty sure that there's a little bit more process. So like I love the the project and having a CLI. I think is super critical for developer experience and everything else. So like if we were to hold a vote today, I would vote yes, but I would prefer not to. I'd prefer to have that at least we should get into some kind of a rhythm where there's an opportunity to vet and review before we get to a vote, because these things do have consequences, and I want to make sure that that we've kind of done it professionally.
Yeah, makes sense. So, Mikael, maybe for you, a suggestion: would you be fine to update based on what we just discussed, this state of the project section until next week? And as Richard said, we had a presentation today, so there can be a voting on it next week, maybe with showing before the voting the update on the state of project section, because I think then we have everything together here. And if it's updated here, we have a good template again for upcoming projects.
All right. And what specifically do we want to integrate? Like architecture, the history of the project, like how long it's been around?
Like how many releases happened, maybe how many people have contributed to it. I believe those are quite good.
Yeah. I mean,
metrics.
when was the last update or last release, things like that. So just to see how current it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
So once maybe you haven't seen it. So once it in Hiero, you have this tooling by the Linux Foundation I can show you, which is the LFX Insights. And let's search for Hiero here. And here you can go into any project. Let's take, I don't know, the whatever we have here, Solo. Oops, let's take Solo. And what you see here then updates on Solo, like how many people have contributed to it, a lot of interesting facts about it, how many stars it has, and all that. And you can see it for, looks like now I have selected somehow two repos for each and every repo. Let's have a look at the Python SDK as an example. Here you see all those informations. And sadly, we do not have that upfront, right? But in general, what you see here would really be the information that would be awesome, like to see, oh, look at this, the community activities are really going up over the last half year or year. That is so good. And pull requests are going up and things like that. Diane.
If this CLI code base is in the Hashgraph repo, if that's where it's living now, we do have we do have these stats in the Bitergia dashboard that we could pull together. So depending on where it's living, Michael, we could pull it out for you.
It's in the Hashgraph repository, yeah.
Yeah. So send me, Diane, the URL, and I will give you a buzz, and we can pull some of these out and take a look at it.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Any other questions here?
Yeah, I think just on that, I may have missed it, but just let's make sure that in each project that comes that we are reviewing some of these stats, like, you know, what's the health of the project, how many maintainers are that kind of stuff, but also who are the maintainers. And I think it's good to understand who's because the other thing we want to avoid is we've had a project, one of our projects that we brought over as part of the Hedera transfer, actually. We're now like, oh, maybe we should put that one out to pasture. And we just want to avoid that sort of confusion as much as we can, and make sure that all the projects that come, you know, the governance is a good fit, and you know, that there's maintainers that are ready to pick it up and carry it across. And then also we should have somewhere in the, I mean, in this case, it's like obvious, right? But even if it's obvious, it's good for us to call it out. Maybe we should have like a slide template that people fill out or something like this to kind of guide them. But some kind of indication as to why is this a good fit for Hiero? Like what's, you know, like I said, in this case, it's obvious. It's like, oh, because everybody wants a CLI tool that they can use against a network. That's clear. And I think Michael did a great job in here in terms of saying that you know, it helps with your development and, you know, streamlining your CLI commands for like GitHub Actions and stuff like that. I think there's lots of obvious ways that it fits, but some projects may be less obvious. And by creating something that's a little bit more consistent, then it should make it easier for us to accept additional projects in the future.
One thing we could do, because it's quite easy to create a, you know, one-time OpenSSF scorecard as an example. So having that created for a project, I learned from Jessica that this is really doable, and while this is concentrating on security, it contains like determinate if the project is actively maintained. So it has like 24 commits and 14 issues within the last 19 days and things like that. So maybe we give a short introduction how to create such a scorecard for each and every project, and say that is what we define as a criteria for review. What do you think about that? I mean, it's coming from LF. So far as I understood it, it works with every repo, at least in GitHub.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. It at least gives us a really good starting point of saying, okay, well, what is the maturity of this thing in a very um uh what's the right word? Independent sort of way, right? Unbiased.
Yeah. I believe if we do it, we need to learn something. Like, for example, for that one, I've chosen that because I know it's a case here. It got 0 points and it's red on a high thing, which is token permission. That is because it has 0 tokens. So, and Jessica was looking at this, can we maybe deactivate it because it don't make sense for this project? Sadly, OpenSSF can currently not deactivate those things. So with that, it can be that we get projects where one or the other is 0 because that thing is just not present. But
The only thing that we can do is put annotations
yeah,
to excusing why the score, but it
yeah,
doesn't affect the score, unfortunately.
yeah, and the reason should be shown here somehow. But I believe OpenSSF is working on it. And I mean, we will look together at it, and if we see a 0 somewhere, we can discuss about it, and maybe that is quite fixed then from the table. So yeah, I would like that idea. And Jessica, are you willing to help me to create a small guideline for that?
For sure. Yeah.
And are you willing to help Mikael to get it for the Hedera CLI so that we have that like next week?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Okay, let's try that out. Good. So the last topic we have on the agenda is the periodic election of TSC members. As I already said, now all seats of the TSC are filled, but this don't mean that all elections are done because people at the TSC will stay for a given time on the TSC, and then re-elections happen. And Richard, I know you have a concept how you think it should be done, right? Is that correct? Do you want
Yeah,
to
and I
say
can
something
share it.
about it?
I can share it.
Okay.
So the idea is that we would have these two cohorts. You are elected for a year at sorry, 2 years at a time. So it's a 2-year term, and then we would stagger the elections so that we do basically half the TSC 1 year and half the other, and then that way we still have continuity in the TSC over time. Now, 1 year ago, we stood this thing up, and then the question is, okay, how do we? And we stood it up with what were there 6 of us, right? Yeah, there were 6 of us. So we can't have all 6 of us be on a 2-year term because then, um, well, then we'd be unbalanced. We'd have six, 6 and 3. So the idea was to try to get us into that rhythm. Now, both of Lehman's seat and Alex's seat are not open to votes because Lehman's a permanent member, and for the startup period of the project, as the charter calls it, which is the first 3 years, Hedera elects its own representative, which is Alex. So that's 2 seats down. So we have 7 seats to talk about, and I wanted to distribute those evenly. So the idea was we could do it like this. And we actually we talked to George and Stoyan, and they preferred to have one of their member. And I don't really care whether it's George or Stoyan in each one of these different spots, but George had suggested that they would take the seat that's up for election here, which would be next month. And that would mean that we have 3 people in cohort A. So the 2 people who just joined us. Gosh, I don't think. Sorry, I'm trying to rebuild this in my head. Oh, yeah, I think somebody had to come. Somebody from the new set. So we had 3 new people. Somebody from that set needed to end up in cohort B. Somebody needed, and the other 2 in cohort A. Because I tried to also balance maintainer, contributor, end user, and then TSCs, so that there was a balance between which types of seats were up each time. I don't know if that's important or not, but that's how I came up with this arrangement. I just said so. Milan, for example, is the sad one out that would be up for re-election next year. So you'd have like a year and a half, I think, in that initial term before it gets set properly. But that was the only reason I put this here instead of up here, was to have contributor and user. But I think it would also work perfectly fine to move this up here, and have contributor and user together. I don't think there's any. In fact, that might be a better solution, just because these guys were all just recently elected, so they would have the full 2 years. And then these guys have all been around for at least a year, so that's another year. That'll give them 2 full years. And then it's only this one seat that would be up early. So this is actually probably a better arrangement. I'm not too particular. It's just I'm not particular at all, actually. In terms of how we arrange it, I was just trying to set something up so that we would get more or less a balanced election system, and most time as possible for each person in their 2-year term. Yeah, Brandon?
No, I was just gonna say, just this tweak that you made. I think this looks good. So I just wanted to voice that and say that I think that this plan here looks pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I like that. Like TSC is split, maintainer is split. The rest we cannot split, but those are splitted, and that makes sense to me.
Yeah, looks good to me as well. I was willing to do a little bit less in the sake of balancing things out. But look at this and I think, yeah, it's still balanced out. So, I'm happy to be able to do it until September 2027.
Riemann does thumbs up in the chat. Any other comments from anybody?
Alex did too.
Yeah.
Or no, Diane did. Yes.
Yeah, I thumbed up too.
2 big thumbs up.
Is there I've got just a question. Is there a difference looking at 2020? Was there a difference in election? We hadn't had an election for maintainer yet, did we? We only have so far contributor and user and
Right.
TC internal.
Yep. Exactly. We used up the maintainer seats when we set up the TSC originally because, well, pretty much LimeChain and Hashgraph formed all the maintainers. So we thought that was the good seats to fill initially before there was voting, because it's us anyway, and then leave open all the other seats that we could fill separately.
Yeah, just the question was really to ask, like, is there like a difference? But maybe that's a question for later, not a discussion for now. Is there like a difference in preparation for the election, or are there different requirements? I guess there are different requirements because it's about maintainers and not contributors. But maybe that's a question for later. And right now the question is, like, do we all agree on this?
Right. Yeah. And you're right. The maintainer one is just, if you're a maintainer on one of the projects, then you have a vote, versus a contributor, who could be anybody who's contributed code gets to vote. That's the difference between the maintainer and contributor. But maintainer will be taken from our GitHub, our roles file, actually. The roles file tells us who all the maintainers are, and those will be the eligible voters for that.
A lot of thumbs up.
Yeah.
So should we just vote on those 2 cohorts? I think everybody agrees on it, right? So
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
So let's see, Brandon,
Yes.
Milan,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Riemann,
Yes.
Stoyan,
Yes.
Michael, give thumbs up in the chat, and I vote yes too. Cool.
So just one question. Well, George's seat expires next month. When should we open elections?
Should be soon. It's a good question. Jessica and Hendrik, do you guys want to just kind of sort out when?
Yeah,
going?
we will sit together for some days starting tomorrow. I believe we then have time to work on all those topics.
And Stoyan, since George wasn't here, if you and George talk about it and you want to switch positions, then I think we can bring that up next week and make that happen. Who was in that spot, whether it was you or George, that's between you and George, really, since you guys are coming from the same company. And I think that we can then reconsider that next week if you want it to be different. Otherwise, yeah, we'll have George on.
Okay, thanks.
Perfect. So we did the hour. We had votings for the hips. Is it critical, Richard, or can we move that to?
It was pretty important
Okay.
in that we have the new we're going to start development on this stuff tomorrow, so I don't want to start develop on it until it's been voted on. So
Yep.
if we don't get the vote, then we'll delay development by a week, which could have some impact on schedule for these features. That was the only reason that we wanted to
So
get it
then
done.
let's do it. All of us are here.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody had a chance to see that. I had a link that I sent to everybody earlier. So the two projects are the precise smart contract throttling and the generalized scheduled contract calls. So I
Okay.
could bring up each one of those as a reminder before we but if you guys are ready to vote, I am. So this is the first one. Here's the precise smart contract throttling. So this is the one where we stop throttling based on gas per second. We start throttling based on a new metric that we create that keeps track of how expensive each one of the different operational costs are, with the goal of dramatically improving the amount of gas per second that we're able to actually execute. Maybe even get into the swaps per second that is, easily 10x higher than what we do today.
I need to leave. I have a follow-up meeting, but I vote yes on both. Just to inform you, I'm fine with both hips.
Me too. I vote yes on both, and I also have to leave.
I also vote yes on both. I don't have to leave.
I will vote yes on both, and I do not have to leave either. I'm here forever.
Forever.
Yes, on both.
Yes on both.
I'm a yes on both. Alex, Michael?
Oh yeah, I didn't even heard me. I said yes to both.
Okay, and Michael?
I need to hop. I have to look at these hips in more detail. I think, yeah, I would say yes to the smart contract throttling, but I really do need to take a bigger dive, and I'm sorry that I haven't yet.
All right, not a problem. So technically the hips have passed. If you have any concerns, please do bring them up at our next meeting and we can stop work or whatever we need to do if it's a serious concern. But yeah, please dig into them. All right. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.